welcome to the 10th episode of Skirt Pattern Making with Bunko method. Today we are creating mermaid skirts. A mermaid skirt, as you see in the image, follows the shape of body from waist to hip and thighs, then flares out below the knee. The flare is created by shaping the skirt panels so they widen towards the hem, or by using techniques such as inserting gusset, gathers, or pleats. In this tutorial, we focus on method A, which builds the flare directly into the panel shape, similar to the gourd skirt which we did in previous episode. There are also method B and C. In method B, we will insert the gusset, and in method C, there is a horizontal cut in the pattern, and below that, flare is added with another piece of fabric. So we'll cover those methods in next episode, and today we focus on method A. And for that we need our basic straight skirt, because we are developing our pattern from a basic straight skirt. I can put the link in description for you to follow that tutorial and bring your basic straight skirt to start. Okay, I have brought our straight skirt, and the first thing you do when you want to create your skirt is adjusting the length. As you see in our image, the length of a skirt is very long. I'm adding 33 centimeters to the skirt length by offsetting the pattern outline by 33 centimeters. Then I'm just adjusting my sewings so that it will be correct in 3D sample. I check my skirt length, and when I'm happy with it, I just do another adjustment for the waist. I want to move my closure from center back to side seam, so it's very easy. Just remove the overlap from center back by cutting the center back line. I draw an internal line on the side seam, then I right click on it and cut and sew. Then I move this piece and attach it to the other side of the waistband. Just click on the two center back lines by holding shift and merge the pieces. Just put a notch on my center back to know where my center back is, and my waistband is complete. The next step is to draw the lines for our panel seam. The standard position is drawing the lines below the first dart, which is close to center front and center back. So with the internal polygon tool, I draw vertical lines from these points down to the hemline. However, we need to keep in mind that we want these two lines to be at center of thigh. So if I turn on internal line in 3D, it's easy for me to see where the lines exactly are. On front, these lines could be a little bit further towards the side seam. On the back, they are okay. They are in the middle of the thigh. But in the book, it is recommended that we move these lines away from center front slightly. But how can we determine that? We can pick the hip line, divide it by 2. And then from that point, the middle point, we go to the right side by 2 cm. So I split the line from the middle point by 2 cm. Then I pick and move my line horizontally to meet that point. So as you see in 3D window, now our seams or our line is in a better position. It's in the middle of the thigh. The next step is to adjust our dart at top, and we need to bring the dart end to this new line. And for the bottom of it, we need to end it 3 centimeters above the hip line. So I first mark 3 cm above the hip line, then I bring my dart end to this point, and I see how much I have moved. 1.2 cm. I have to move the other point also 1.2 centimeters toward the left, And the bottom point, I bring it down to the point I marked 3 centimeters above the hip line. And just like that, we have adjusted our center front upper portion. Now we can go down and do for the bottom part. I'm just removing the other panels because we need to do pattern making only on half of our pattern. The next step is to divide the distance between hemline and hip line to 3 equal parts. For that, you can click on hip line and hemline, right click and distribute internal lines between them, 2 of them. This way you have 3 equal parts. I need to remove the extra point so that I can see the option here. I click on my lines and right click and distribute internal lines, 2 of them. It's better when you draw this internal line, always choose the option which extend and trim and add a point to the pattern outline. Now you see I have equal parts on the center front. Now I convert back my hip line to baseline. And for adding the flare, so there are so many lines in the diagram, but let's focus on front panel first. As you see in the diagram, 8 centimeters is added on each side of front panel. I want to choose 10 centimeters because my skirt has more flare. With the internal polygon tool, I draw a line 10 centimeters and I connect it to the first internal line we drew below the hip line, as you see in the video. Then I split 10 centimeters on the other side of the guideline and connect it to the horizontal line we have. Now, as you see in the diagram, these lines have to be slightly curved towards inside. If you want to do this precisely, what you can do is that right click on the line with edit pattern tool. While you have selected the edit pattern tool, you can right click and choose the perpendicular line option and the local feature. You see the option add perpendicular line and you can choose the local, and you can change the direction and draw a small line half centimeters long. And then with the smooth curvature tool, you can draw a curved line so that it meets this point you have created with the perpendicular line tool. I'm picking the smooth curve tool and select first and last point of this line. Then I pick the middle and bring it to the point we have just created inside the line. Now I can remove those guidelines. And now for the bottom, as you see, the point is we should have 90-degree angles. But how we can create it and how much should we go up to create this line? Again, we can use the same tool. Right click on the line, internal line, while you have edit pattern tool selected, and then with this function or with this tool, create a local line, local perpendicular line, so that the end of your line meets the points of center panel. As you see, I'm adjusting, going up and down slightly so that I meet the point. 1.9 is the amount I need to go up. So once you do this only one time, that would be enough for you. Then you will go up same amount on all the lines. So for example, once I found this distance, I go up 1.9 from the other side as well, because I want symmetrical shape. So as you see, these lines that we created are meeting the center panel edges at bottom end, and they are perpendicular to the slant lines we created. Now we can create a curved line so that its corners are 90-degree, like we see in the diagram. You can also draw an internal line between the points you have made and just curve it and bring it down so that its corners are aligned with the guideline we had, and the corners will have the 90-degree. So just like that, our front panel is done. We can trace it out before creating other pieces. I'm trying to trace my patterns. It just doesn't let me because some of the points are not connected. You just need to make sure your internal lines are connected to each other. Okay, now that I was able to finally trace out my center front panel, I will name it center front and just draw my hip line as a guide. I also check my angles again to make sure my hemline angles are 90-degree. You can also use the tool that Chloe has to make the angles 90-degree by some distance, for example 1 cm or half cm. Can do the same process to create the side panel front. Again, I mark 10 cm on each side of my guideline. Create those slant line from guideline to hemline. Curve the lines as the same way we did for the center front panel. And go up at the hem the same amount, 1.9 that we marked for the center front panel, and just do the same process for tracing and bringing out the seams. After front panel, I can do the same process for the back side panel. In the back side panel, you see that for curving, I just use the edit curvature tool or V and bring the side seam down inside half centimeters. This is easier but a little bit less precise, but you can always use this tool as well. At the bottom, again, you bring the hem up 1.9 cm and make the curvature to have 90-degree on edges. For the center back panel, as you see in the diagram, we need to do a small adjustment. The waistline is brought in half centimeter at center back, and the dart edges are added by 0.25 centimeters on each side of the panels to compensate for that half centimeters we removed from the center back. After I've done with this, again I'm checking all my seam to make sure hemline and side seams are smooth and all angles are 90 degrees according to the diagram. I also check my seam length to make sure they are equal. happy with all my pieces, I can create mirrored pieces for my skirt. I choose all of them and press Ctrl D to create mirror pieces, because as you know, these were all half of our pattern. Then I can arrange the pieces around the avatar and start sewing. Okay, our skirt is all sewed up and is looking nice and clean. It is ready for adding the actual fabric. For this skirt, I'm planning to use a velvet fabric I found in Clo Library. You can use any type of fabric for this kind of a skirt, as we mentioned earlier. I just changed the color to red, and she can wear it with a white top that we had made before. I'm just checking the fit to see if there is any issues, but overall fit looks fine to me. At the knee, it is possible to make this mermaid skirt even a bit narrower. And if you want to do that, you can do it by moving the points at the guideline, the same point that we start panels to flare out. Just move them inside by 1 cm or whatever amount you have in mind, inside on the X axis only. Don't go up and down, just go inside horizontally, and you can do this on all these panels. And as you see, when you do that, the silhouette will narrow more at knee, like our image. One more adjustment I want to do is that the end of my dart is a little bit bumpy and it's not smooth. For fixing that, you can make your dart a little bit curved on the back, so that it follows the natural curve of the body. The way I do this is with the V or edit curvature tool. I bring the middle of my dart legs 1 or 2 millimeters inside, so that they have a more smooth shape. You can also make your panels a little bit smoother, so that they are not pointy. Okay, our skirt is done. I hope you have found this tutorial useful, and I'll look forward to seeing you next Saturday for making mermaid skirt with the method B and C. Have a good week and see you next Saturday.